You there. Yes, you, the man who has tried, worked, waited. You've read the books. You've entertained the dream. You've whispered to yourself that one day it will change. But still, the change has not arrived. I tell you now, the problem is not in your desire, nor in your effort. It is in your lack of command over your own mind. There is a daily ritual, no longer than 5 minutes, that has created more millionaires than fortune, timing, or talent ever have. It is not complicated, and for that reason most ignore it. But in its simplicity lies its supremacy. This habit trains your subconscious, aligns your days with your definite chief aim, and rebuilds your identity from the inside out. If you listen to the end of this message, you will walk away no longer drifting, but directing. You will no longer wonder how men rise. You will become the kind of man who does. The man you wish to become is already inside you, but he must be trained, and this is how you begin. The tragedy of most men is that they await a moment of brilliance, a grand event, a flash of light, a break from the heavens to transform their condition. But the truth, known by every truly great man, is far less glamorous and infinitely more powerful. Men are built daily, not suddenly, not in bursts, but in repetition, not by fortune, but by ritual. The man you admire, the one you wish to become, was not sculpted in one defining moment, but shaped day by the habits he repeated in solitude. There exists a practice so simple and so often dismissed that it has escaped the notice of those who believe success comes only through action and force. It is the 5-minute daily ritual, a sacred time in which the mind is instructed, the identity is chosen, and the entire being is called to alignment. This habit is the act of speaking aloud one's definite chief aim, not as a wish, but as a command. It must be done with emotion, with certainty, and with the full engagement of one's imagination. It is not merely reading words, it is declaring reality. You are not asking life to give you something. You are commanding your own soul to become worthy of it. Most men fail because they seek results before they build identity. They work endlessly on tasks while never asking, who must I become to deserve this outcome? Their words are vague, their thoughts are scattered, and their self-image remains bound to the man they were, not the man they aim to be. They confuse ambition with intention, and so their power leaks through every crack of self-doubt. But the men who rose above the ordinary knew this secret. Andrew Carnegie, long before he became the steel magnate, practiced the mental discipline of reviewing his definite chief aim each day. He did not merely think about wealth, he saw himself as the type of man through whom great wealth must flow. He trained his imagination, instructed his subconscious, and as a result, every decision he made echoed that internal clarity. His fortune was not the product of chance, but the inevitable result of identity reinforcement. Henry Ford, too, was a man of mental discipline. Before his factories ever echoed with the noise of machines, he walked among them in his mind. He visualized their layout, the assembly lines, the way they would revolutionize the industry. He spoke aloud the identity of the man who would do it. And so when challenges came, and they came often, he was already trained. He was not reacting. He was returning to a vision that had already taken root within him. You must understand, your identity is not fixed. It is programmable. But you must be the one who does the programming. And if you do not take control of it daily, then the world, its doubts, its delays, its distractions, will do it for you. That is the purpose of this habit, to remind yourself of who you are becoming until you no longer forget. These affirmations are not lies, they are commands in training. Each day, when spoken with emotion and belief, they do not merely echo, they etch. They carve into your subconscious a new standard, a new role, a new posture. And day by day, the man who repeats them begins to act differently, not because he is forcing it, but because it has become natural. Let me now give you 5 identity-based affirmations to repeat each day. aloud, with power, and with your full belief behind them. I am the type of man who does not wait. He builds. I speak with the voice of certainty, and I act before I feel ready. Every day I move closer to my definite chief aim. I no longer drift, I direct. The man I am becoming guides every choice I make. Say them, speak them, shout them if you must, but do not whisper them with doubt in your throat. For these words, when charged with emotion, become the script by which your life will unfold. Remember, no king ever ruled without first declaring who he was. You are no different. This habit, this 5-minute ritual, is not optional for the man who is serious. It is sacred. And it is the foundation upon which everything else will rest. Build yourself daily, or be built by accident. The choice is yours. The average man believes he is in control of his mind. He imagines that logic, will, and fleeting bursts of inspiration guide his actions. But this is a fatal misunderstanding. It is not the conscious mind that determines destiny. It is the subconscious, and the subconscious does not respond to logic. It does not respond to emotion alone. It does not even respond to truth. It responds to repetition. The subconscious mind is a faithful servant, but like all servants, it will serve whoever commands it most consistently. If that master is you, your definite chief aim, your affirmations, your visualized identity, then it becomes the most powerful ally a man can possess. But if that master is the voice of fear, the murmurs of past failure, or the casual opinions of drifting men, then your subconscious will obey them just as obediently. This is why so many men, though intelligent and gifted, fall short of greatness. They are ruled not by principle, but by past programming. Their subconscious has been trained, yes, but trained by the wrong instructor. It obeys the memory of failure, not the command of vision. It obeys the mood of the day, not the decision of destiny. Understand this, your subconscious does not discriminate. It does not judge your affirmations as true or false. It simply accepts what is repeated. It is like rich soil. It will grow poison just as readily as medicine. And so, if you are not planting what you wish to harvest, it is guaranteed you will reap weeds. This is where the practice of autosuggestion, daily spoken emotional repetition, becomes not a tool, but a law. It is the lost law of mastery. And while it has been mentioned, studied, and mimicked, it is rarely obeyed in the way it was meant to be, not as a trick of psychology, but as a daily instruction to the deepest part of your being. You must speak aloud each day words that command your subconscious to obey your vision. You must not beg for change. You must declare it. And you must repeat these declarations so frequently and with such emotional charge that your subconscious begins to accept them as reality. That is the true definition of faith. Not blind belief, but trained inner certainty. Thomas Edison knew this well. He did not wait to see results before believing in them. He believed with such force, such imagination, that his mind was forced to deliver the means. His subconscious did not question. It obeyed. It was not the filament alone that created the light. It was the decision that he would not accept darkness. His mind had been commanded, and the servant complied. This too must be your path. You must train your mind not to consider alternatives, not to entertain distractions, but to obey a single command. I am becoming the man I have decided to be. No arguments, no explanations, just repetition. The modern man fails here because he desires novelty. He believes he must always feel inspired. But inspiration is the reward, not the requirement. The requirement is discipline, daily, deliberate, and definite. You must remind your subconscious of who you are until it no longer questions you, until it begins to instruct you with ideas, plans, and promptings that align with the identity you have declared. Let me give you 5 affirmations to speak aloud each morning and night. These are not idle words. They are commands to the servant within. If you speak them with emotion, with certainty, and with no compromise, your subconscious will begin to obey. I am the type of man whose mind obeys his vision. I do not beg for change, I declare it. My subconscious builds what I repeat. I plant only power in the garden of my mind. Doubt has no voice in my inner court. These words must be spoken aloud. Whispering will not suffice. Reading silently will not move mountains. Speak as one who commands, not as one who hopes. And do not expect immediate transformation. The servant must be trained. But once trained, it will serve you with a loyalty that defies imagination. It will feed you ideas in the night. It will stir you to action without fear. It will reject distractions on your behalf. It will move resources, attract people, and reorder your emotions. Not because the world changed, but because you trained the one within. Remember, the world does not respond to your wish. It responds to your inner belief, and that belief is created through repeated suggestion. You are the architect of your subconscious. Build it deliberately. Build it daily. Build it with declarations, not doubts. There is a common error made by men who stumble upon the principle of autosuggestion. They discover the idea that words repeated shape destiny, and yet they treat those words as lifeless symbols. They speak their affirmations without power, without presence, without heat. They whisper them in a voice barely rising above breath, without urgency, without conviction. They move their lips but not their hearts, and then wonder why nothing moves in their world. Let me speak plainly. To recite a phrase without feeling is spiritual laziness. It is the act of a man hoping for transformation without participation. Your words must not only be spoken, they must be charged. They must carry such emotional voltage that the subconscious has no choice but to receive the message and begin to act upon it. If the words you speak each day are dry, mechanical, and stale, then do not expect your inner world to catch fire. The subconscious does not respond to empty noise. It responds to emotion. Emotion is the bridge between conscious suggestion and subconscious instruction. It is the flame that sets repetition ablaze. You may say the words, "I am the type of man who commands his destiny," 1,000 times. But if you say them without feeling, if you say them while doubting, yawning, or scrolling through other thoughts, then you may as well have said nothing at all. The words must burn. Consider Abraham Lincoln, a man of profound internal conviction. Long before the Union was preserved, before he stood at Gettysburg or was etched in marble, he spoke the unity of a divided nation into being. He practiced his speeches not for audiences, but for his own soul. In private, behind closed doors, he would walk and speak aloud, declaring peace, purpose, and union, not as a report of fact, but as a statement of future certainty. He knew that before he could lead a nation, he must convince the deepest part of himself that unity was not only possible, but inevitable. What was Lincoln doing in those moments of solitude? He was emotionalizing suggestion. He was not informing the world. He was transforming the world within. And because he charged his voice with belief, with emotion, with deep-seated vision, his words eventually moved millions. This is the task before you, to speak not as a man reciting, but as a man declaring. You must recite your affirmations as if issuing a command to the universe. Speak them as if your life depends on them, because it does. Speak them not as wishes, but as the terms of your contract with destiny. If you murmur them with hesitation, the subconscious will assume you are unsure. But if you speak with boldness, with fire, with the emotional intensity of a man who knows his future, then the subconscious will respond with immediate movement. Now let me teach you a simple 3-step technique to emotionalize your affirmations. A method to ensure your practice is not cold and weak, but hot and holy. Step 1. Breathe and stand in identity. Before you speak a word, take a full breath. Stand tall. Feel the presence of the man you are becoming. Do not speak as your current self. Speak as the man on the other side of the mountain. Become him, if only for a moment. Let him fill your posture, your chest, your tone. Step 2, choose one affirmation and feel its truth. Do not rush through a list. Take a single phrase. I am the type of man who leads with power and purpose. Close your eyes. Picture it. Feel what it would be like if it were already true. Let your spine respond. Let your breath deepen. Feel the pride of it, the stillness, the force. When the emotion begins to stir, then speak it aloud. Step 3, repeat with rising emotion. Speak the phrase again and again, each time with more certainty. Raise your voice if needed. Use your hands, your breath, your whole body. Let the words echo, not just in the room, but in your soul. Say it until you believe it. Say it until you become it. This is not theatrical. It is transformational. The man who cannot command his own voice cannot command his own life. If your affirmations are weak, your results will be weaker still. But if your affirmations carry the tone of prophecy, your results will begin to rise to match. Let me offer you a few affirmations now. Say them as I say them, not as suggestions, but as declarations. Let them be the fire that burns away your doubt and ignites your inner resolve. I am the type of man whose voice carries truth. I speak as the man I intend to become. My words are not noise, they are instruction. What I say with emotion, I become without delay. I declare now, and reality bends to my voice. Do not read these. Speak them, own them, emotionalize them. Let your subconscious know, without apology, that you are the new master. And let that master speak with power daily. The habit must be emotional. There is no power without feeling, and there is no transformation without fire. Every man on earth already practices a 5-minute ritual. He may not call it such, and he may not be conscious of it, but it is there nonetheless. It happens when he rises and permits the world to suggest his thoughts before he commands them. It happens when he looks in the mirror and repeats what he does not like about himself. It happens when he mutters complaints on his way to work, when he sighs in doubt, when he mumbles, "Nothing ever works out for me." That, too, is repetition. That, too, is autosuggestion. And that, my friend, is how most men lose the war before the day begins. In Outwitting the Devil, I revealed a terrible truth that few are willing to face. Repetition is not good or evil. It is neutral. It is a servant. It obeys the one who gives it direction. The subconscious cannot distinguish between a deliberate command and a habitual echo. And herein lies the great trap of the drifting man. He believes he is not shaping anything because he is not doing anything. But in truth, he is doing everything. He is permitting external forces to write his internal code. He is not inactive. He is simply reactive. This is the devil's most cunning voice. Repetition without direction. It comes to you in the form of idle phrases. What if I fail? I can't do this. This always happens to me. These statements, though spoken casually, become internal law. They pass unnoticed through the conscious mind and take root in the subconscious soil. And like any seed, they grow. The devil does not shout, he whispers. And his whispers come in cycles, in phrases, in the rhythm of drift. If you do not write the script for your mind, the devil will. He will use your own voice to plant doubt. He will use your own memories to recreate your failures. And he will do it so softly, so subtly, that you will think it is you. But it is not you. It is hypnotic rhythm. It is repetition void of purpose. It is repetition ruled by fear. But hear me now. You can interrupt that rhythm. You can seize the wheel, take the pen, and command the direction of your thoughts. The mind does not argue with repetition. It does not ask whether your words are real. It obeys what is spoken most often and with most emotion. If you say, "I am strong" 10 times with belief, and "I am weak" 100 times with apathy, your mind will believe the latter. It is not truth that rules the mind. It is repetition. Elbert Hubbard understood this principle with great precision. He began every day not with reaction, but with creation. Before the world could tell him who he was, he told it first. He wrote each morning, forming not just essays, but values. He declared the day's identity, purpose, and tone. And by this daily act, he prevented drift. He refused to let the devil speak first. He filled the space of silence with intention, and in doing so, trained his entire life in alignment. So I ask you, what do you repeat each morning? What words fill the air before your feet hit the floor? Because that is your real religion. That is your true prayer. Not what you believe when things go well, but what you repeat when no one is watching. If your ritual is fear, complaint, blame, or delay, then know this: the devil is at the wheel, and you are no longer the master. But this can change, and it changes today. You must replace the devil's drift with divine direction. You must wake with words that align with your definite chief aim, and you must speak them aloud, not with force, but with faith. These words become your spiritual armor, your mental compass, your internal code. If you do not direct the repetition, someone else will. Let us do this now. Speak these affirmations with breath in your chest and fire in your voice. Do not whisper them. Declare them. Say them as a man who is reclaiming his own soul from passivity. I am the type of man who commands the direction of his mind. My thoughts obey me because I give them law. I do not drift, I decide. I speak what I become, and I become what I speak. The rhythm I repeat is the rhythm of power, purpose, and presence. There is no neutral ground in the battlefield of the mind. You are either a commander or you are a captive. You either shape the rhythm or the rhythm shapes you. Every day you are programming yourself by design or by default. Today you make the shift. Today you stop allowing the devil to whisper first. Today you replace unconscious repetition with conscious declaration. And from this day forward, you repeat with direction. No man is born with identity. He is born with potential, raw, undefined, and pliable. But what he becomes is the result of what he repeats, and what he repeats begins with what he declares. I am is not merely a statement of fact. It is a command, a decree issued to the subconscious mind. It is the blueprint from which your actions draw shape and your habits take form. Most men speak I am as a confession of weakness. Few speak it as an instruction to become. The habit we speak of, the 5-minute ritual at its core, is the deliberate construction of identity. It is not a casual utterance of goals, nor is it a half-hearted pep talk. It is the daily sacred ritual of becoming a man on purpose. The words you declare with I am shape not only your thoughts, but the world around you, for the world responds not to the man you wish to be, but to the man you consistently identify as. When you say, I am disciplined, the mind begins to reorganize itself to meet that expectation. When you say, I am a leader, the brain adjusts your posture, your tone, and your response to adversity. These are not fantasies. These are blueprints written into your subconscious, a system more powerful than brute will. The man who says, I am focused each day becomes focused. The man who says, I can't focus becomes what he believes. Identity is not chosen in the moment of action. It is built long before through daily verbal construction. Charles Schwab, long before he commanded armies of men and millions of dollars, spoke like a leader. He was mocked by elder steelmen, men with soot on their skin and pride in their cynicism. But Schwab carried a confidence rooted not in circumstance, but in belief. He called himself a builder even before he had built. He declared himself a leader before any man followed. He understood that identity was not earned by waiting for the world's approval. It was installed by speaking it into existence. And so I tell you, if you do not declare who you are each day, you will be given a label by forces outside of you. You will be called lazy, average, a drifter, not because you are, but because you did not claim anything else. You will carry the names handed to you by old failures, by the voices of doubters, by the memories of defeat. These voices are not stronger than your own. They only become powerful when yours is silent. To combat this, you must practice what I call identity declaration, a simple daily ritual of speaking aloud 5 truths of the man you are becoming. They must begin with, I am the type of man who, and they must be spoken with conviction, not consideration. Do not ask if they are true. Make them true by speaking them until they are. This is not deception. It is creation. You are not lying. You are leading. Here are 5 declarations you must recite each day, not with timidity, but with force, until your bones remember them. I am the type of man who finishes what he starts. I am the type of man who acts from purpose, not from mood. I am the type of man who keeps his word, especially to himself. I am the type of man who speaks his future into the present. I am the type of man who builds identity on truth, repetition, and fire. Do not let a day pass without repeating these or ones like them of your own choosing. Write them. Speak them. Carry them in your pocket if you must. Say them in the morning when the world is quiet. Say them before sleep when your thoughts echo loudest. Let them become your shield and sword against drift, doubt, and defeat. For the man who repeats who he is becomes it. And once you become it, the world must respond, not because it believes, but because you do. Identity is not granted. It is claimed, forged, and reinforced. And no one can take it from you unless you leave the door open through silence. The man you wish to be is waiting. Speak him into motion. The habit of affirmation, powerful though it is, remains incomplete without the companion of visualization. Words alone can stir the mind, yes. But to command the subconscious, to train it fully and deeply, one must also see the result as though it were already real. Visualization is not fantasy. It is preparation. It is not escape. It is construction. Every building, every invention, every revolution began first in the unseen chambers of the mind before it touched the hand or the earth. To affirm without seeing is like sowing seed upon stone. It may be true, but it cannot take root. The mind creates in 2 phases. The first is thought. The second is form. And the bridge between these 2 realms, the force that moves the invisible into the tangible, is imagination, guided by repetition. You must not only say, I am wealthy, but see the man you become in wealth. How he walks, how he speaks, how he treats others, how he sits in silence and commands his thoughts. If you say, I am a leader, yet see yourself as timid and uncertain, your affirmation is divided, and the subconscious obeys the stronger vision, not the louder voice. This is the reason why most men never rise beyond their current station. They speak of greatness while picturing failure. They write lofty goals in journals, but inwardly see themselves stumbling. They hope for strength while imagining weakness. And so their subconscious, confused, builds not a tower, but a prison. The discipline of visualization is the antidote. It is the daily act of seeing as though it already is. Not because you deceive yourself, but because you choose to give the mind a new model from which to operate. Henry Ford, in the early days when the world mocked his vision, would retreat into quiet rooms and see the entire layout of his factories. He did not wait for approval. He did not ask for blueprints. He saw the machinery, the lines, the workers, and the product long before any steel touched soil. When others saw only the mud and the loss, Ford saw assembly lines and automobiles. His mind held the image until the world was forced to produce it. That is the nature of vision. It becomes a demand, not a wish. Understand this. If you do not deliberately construct the image of your future self, the world will offer you its own. And the image they hand you is always smaller, more timid, and drenched in fear. They will say, be realistic. They will say, don't expect too much. But it is not their voice that holds power, it is yours. What you choose to rehearse inwardly will become your outer truth. The man who sees poverty, even while speaking wealth, remains poor. But the man who sees wealth, even in the days of lack, is preparing the soil for riches to arrive. To train this habit, each day you must see your affirmations as you speak them. When you declare, "I am focused," do not merely hear the words, see yourself in full control of your day. When you say, "I am the type of man who builds his destiny," see yourself walking with clarity, making bold decisions, standing with purpose. Picture it as though it were a scene from a film in which you are both actor and director. Direct your own mind, or it will be directed by others. Here are 5 visualization-based affirmations to begin each day with clarity and command. I see the man I am becoming, and I greet him daily in the mirror. I walk as if the vision is already fulfilled. My actions match the image I hold. There is no division. I am the architect of my mind, and I build only what I wish to live in. My future is already formed in thought. I now prepare to receive it in form. These are not lines to whisper. They are declarations to speak with image, with full imagination. Feel them, see them, breathe them. When you close your eyes, the world you see should no longer be the past. It should not even be the present. It must be the identity you are installing. And the more vividly you see it, the faster it takes root in your being. You must understand, you are not trying to convince the world. You are not even trying to convince your logical mind. You are training the deepest parts of yourself, the inner engine that does not argue, but obeys. This engine is trained not by evidence, but by vision repeated with conviction. And once trained, it will begin to act upon your behalf. It will draw people, events, and decisions that match the picture you gave it. Speak, see, align. The habit is no longer 5 minutes of words. It is 5 minutes of vision casting. And as surely as the sun rises, the man who sees his future clearly will one day walk inside it. The hour is not your enemy. It is your servant, provided you train it properly. The man who rises and begins his day with ritual is not merely avoiding chaos, he is commanding time. Most men complain of not having enough hours, when in truth they have never mastered even 5 minutes of their own thought. They live in drift, not because the day is against them, but because they begin the day without authority. They are tossed about by circumstance, while the builder, he who keeps his morning sacred, steps into the world as a man already in control. Let me be clear. This habit is not about the number of minutes. It is not about checking a box or fulfilling a task. It is about the spirit with which you begin. If you can take 5 minutes, just 5, and own them with such intensity, with such certainty, with such clarity of purpose, you will find that the rest of the day cannot help but bend to the pattern you laid before it. You are not scheduling success, you are programming it. You are not starting the day, you are installing identity. You are not warming up, you are giving commands to time itself. Abraham Lincoln, though burdened with the weight of a fractured Union, made it a practice to rise before the light broke the horizon. He did not do this for efficiency alone. He did it to prepare his spirit. Before facing opposition, before answering criticism, before stepping into the fires of decision, he sat in inner stillness, reciting thoughts, organizing convictions, forging himself anew. He knew that a man who commands himself early will not be shaken by late pressures. The ritual was not decorative. It was foundational. This is why your 5-minute habit must not be treated lightly. You may consider it small now, but so too is the rudder of a great ship, and yet it determines the course of the whole vessel. Each morning that you speak your affirmations with power, that you visualize your identity, that you claim your definite chief aim again, you are laying track for the hours that follow. Without this ritual, the train of your day has no direction. It moves, yes, but it moves in loops, never in purpose. You are not repeating to believe. No, you are repeating to become. Do you understand the difference? Belief is an entry point. Becoming is a commitment. To become the man you speak of, you must rehearse his thoughts until they are yours. You must feel his discipline as though it were already burning in your blood. You must command his posture, his tone, his decisions, not once, but daily, until the distinction between your former self and your current identity becomes impossible to discern. There is no shortcut. There is no hidden technique beyond the one already in your hand. Decide what kind of man you wish to be, and repeat him into existence every morning until he no longer feels foreign, but familiar. Repetition with emotion, visualization with belief, declaration with posture. These are the keys. This is not poetry, it is programming. The 5-minute ritual is not about speed, it is about precision. You are not racing through the words. You are inscribing them on the tablets of your inner self. Understand this. Time will obey the man who obeys his ritual. The man who speaks with clarity each morning does not lose hours to indecision. The man who visualizes his goal before breakfast does not waste the day chasing distractions. The man who affirms his identity at dawn is not tempted by mediocrity at noon. He is set, he is sealed, he is already aligned. That is the power of the 5-minute mastery, not in its length, but in its authority. Repeat these affirmations as your anchor at the start of each day. I command my morning, therefore I command my life. 5 minutes of clarity grants me 24 hours of power. I am the type of man who begins each day with direction. I master time by mastering myself. My ritual is sacred. It prepares the world to respond to my will. Say them not as pleasantries, but as truths already forming. Let them not pass your lips without conviction. Feel each word as though it were a command to time itself, and time will answer. Begin with intention, and the day will follow. Drift begins when a man forgets to build. Discipline begins when a man chooses to construct, even for 5 minutes. Let this be your daily creed. If I win the first 5 minutes, I do not need to win the rest. They will already be mine. Doubt is not a force to be wrestled with. It is not a beast to be slain in the arena of logic. It is far more cunning than that. Doubt does not fight. It whispers. It waits. It suggests. It hides beneath your better thoughts and speaks when you are alone. And the truth, my friend, is that doubt survives not because it is powerful, but because you have not yet chosen to be. The enemy is not in your circumstances, not in your opportunities, and rarely in your opposition. The enemy most often lives within your own incompleteness of decision. This is why your daily ritual is sacred. It is not simply to begin the day, it is to end debate. A man who begins his morning with purpose, emotion, and repetition is not arguing with his former self. He is replacing him. You cannot afford to repeat the identity of the man who hesitates. That man must be cast out, spoken over, replaced with one who knows. You do not negotiate with doubt. You do not wait for it to leave. You starve it by feeding certainty. Understand this. Most men lose not because they are weak, but because they are uncertain. They drift because they have not anchored. They hesitate because they have not spoken the command of who they are. And no man drifts because of one mighty storm, but because of 1,000 tiny pauses where doubt was allowed to remain unchallenged. Doubt never dies from evidence. It dies from domination. This is the power of the daily habit. It is not a motivational exercise. It is not mere self-talk. It is not wishful thinking. It is the training of your spiritual army, the disciplining of your inner world, until there is no longer room for the voice of maybe. You must become, through repetition, the type of man whose conviction is so loud, so constant, so unshakable, that even fear itself dares not speak in his presence. Andrew Carnegie did not begin with confidence. He was mocked, doubted, pushed aside. But he learned that if he rose each morning and reminded himself who he was becoming, the world would eventually agree. He had no time for maybe. He had no tolerance for perhaps. He did not dabble in doubt. He began every day with the belief that his name would shape an industry, and then he made it so, not through luck, not through approval, but through the constant declaration of finality. Finality builds. Indecision decays. You must do the same. The habit is your tool. When you rise, you are not waking up the body. You are waking up the inner man. You are stirring the man who will lead. You are commanding the man who will conquer. Doubt is not silenced by sitting still. It is silenced when the man within is spoken into authority every single day. Let me remind you, you are not trying to believe your affirmations. You are installing them. And if you do this with intensity, with sacred discipline, you will find that doubt cannot remain where certainty has been declared. You will find that even in difficult moments, the echo of your morning identity will return and hold you upright. Your emotions may falter. Your mood may dip. But if your identity is trained, if it has been built through repetition, you will not crumble, because you are no longer a man who listens to doubt. You are a man who overrides it. Repeat these declarations of unshakable certainty, not with the hope they become true, but with the decision that they already are. I am the type of man who speaks final words, not tentative ones. I do not ask permission to be certain, I command it. I do not negotiate with doubt, I silence it by rising. Every day I begin again with clarity too strong for confusion. My mind follows my command, not my hesitation. These are not just statements. They are tools. They are chisels that shape your subconscious. Speak them aloud. Repeat them with power. Let your voice be louder than your history. Let your certainty be greater than your evidence. This is how the great men lived, not because they always knew the outcome, but because they spoke as if they did. They knew that doubt is a liar that cannot live in the presence of a man who decides. So begin again tomorrow. Begin again every day. Let the first words out of your mouth be certainty, and watch how quickly your world begins to conform. Not because circumstances have changed, but because you have. And once you change, once you replace the inner man of maybe with the man of must, the world can no longer ignore you. It must answer to the man who decided. Let this truth be carved into your morning. Doubt dies not when I find the answer, but when I become the man who no longer asks the wrong question. You are not here to wonder if it will work. You are here to become the one who makes it so. You must understand this truth now and hold to it like armor. If you are to rise, you must be willing to look foolish before you look formidable. The beginning of every great transformation contains awkwardness, discomfort, and ridicule. It always has. The man who trains his mind by sacred ritual, who speaks affirmations aloud while others still sleep, who writes his definite chief aim when others scroll newspapers and mutter complaints, that man will look mad to the common eye, and that is precisely why he must continue. Most men never become who they were meant to be because they are enslaved by the eyes of others. They fear being seen trying. They fear the embarrassment of early repetition, the discomfort of being different. They choose silence not out of wisdom, but out of fear that someone will see them become. This is the first chain that must be broken. Your ritual is not for the world's applause. It is not to be approved. It is not to be shared. Your daily affirmation is not a performance. It is a private oath, a spiritual contract between who you are and who you are becoming. When you speak your identity aloud, you are not talking to people. You are talking to eternity, to the unseen, to the subconscious mind that is waiting for you to mean what you say. And the world may laugh, but let them. Thomas Edison was laughed out of rooms. They scoffed at his 1,000 failures. They mocked the idea that light could be captured in glass. Yet what did he do? He built a lab in silence. He tested in quiet. And when he finally succeeded, the same world that mocked him could not live without the fruit of his repetition. This is the law. Those who repeat in private will one day be obeyed in public. This is your warning and your invitation. If you seek to be admired before you are established, you will never last. The habit must be practiced in sacred space. There must be a place where you go daily to train your mind, to repeat your vow, to become the man before the world even knows his name. This place does not need to be grand. It may be a corner, a mirror, a quiet room, but it must be sacred, not because others revere it, but because you do. Let them laugh. The world does not know how to respond to a man with spiritual discipline. The average man mocks what he does not understand. But the world has never built a statue for the mocker. They build it for the man who was laughed at and kept going. If you cannot tolerate being misunderstood in the beginning, you are not ready to be respected in the end. Let your habit become holy. Rise each morning and repeat your identity aloud, not with performance, but with power. Say your affirmations not to be seen, but to be transformed. Let your voice train your inner world until the outer world must catch up. And when they finally ask you how you did it, you will smile. You will remember the laughter, the doubt, the quiet mornings, and you will know this is how destinies are built. Repeat these affirmations with quiet fire, not for show, but for soul. I am the type of man who builds in silence. Let them laugh. I will outlast them. My practice is private. My results will not be. Hold fast. Let the habit refine you. Ignore the noise. Let the world watch while you rise without applause, become without approval, and conquer without compromise. The man who can be ridiculed without retreat is the man who will one day be revered without question. Do not stop the ritual when it feels good. That is when most men lose. That is when the untrained declare victory prematurely, and the old self returns through the back door of comfort. The true transformation does not occur when the words excite you. It occurs when the words sustain you, when you speak them in darkness, in silence, in fatigue, and even in doubt. It is in these moments that the subconscious begins to listen, not to your passion, but to your persistence. The man who only repeats his purpose when he feels inspired is still a slave to emotion. And emotion is a cruel master. It rises and falls like the tide. It obeys the weather, the news, the opinion of others. But the man who builds identity through ritual knows this law. Repetition is not for the days I feel strong, it is for the days I feel small, because that is when I need it most. Your daily habit must become reflex. It must become as automatic as breath, as natural as movement. In the beginning, you do it from effort. Later, you do it from identity. At first, you repeat your words to believe them. Then you repeat them because they are who you are. The reason most men fail is not because they lack intelligence, resources, or ambition. It is because they repeat the wrong things. They repeat their doubts, their complaints, their fears. They say things like, "I'm not ready. It's too late, maybe someday." And they say these things not once, but daily, quietly, casually. And without knowing it, they install them into their subconscious like bricks into a wall. And then they wonder why they cannot escape that prison. They built it, word by word. You must understand this. Repetition is a tool, and like every tool, it can build or destroy. What you say daily, you become eventually. What you declare in the morning becomes the architecture of your afternoon. What you recite with feeling becomes your fate. This is not theory, it is law. Andrew Carnegie did not become a man of industry through accident. He reviewed his aims every single day. He repeated his definite chief aim until it was no longer a goal, but a command. He trained his inner world to obey his intention so that the outer world would eventually fall in line. And you must do the same. Begin with 5 minutes. Speak aloud. Speak clearly. Speak with emotion. Say it when it feels powerful. Say it when it feels awkward. Say it until it feels automatic. Then say it more. And if you miss a day, return immediately. Do not let guilt become your new ritual. 1 missed day is human, but 2 is a decision. Do not decide to become the man who skips. Decide to become the man who returns. The subconscious does not need perfection. It needs consistency. It needs the daily message that this is who I am now. that no matter the storm, the schedule, the mood, I return to the mirror, I return to the words, I return to myself. Repeat these now, daily, until they speak even when you are silent. I am the type of man who never skips the ritual. I speak even when I do not feel like it. My identity does not depend on my mood, it depends on my repetition. 5 minutes a day builds 50 years of direction. My words are bricks. I lay them daily. I build myself. This is the moment when the ritual becomes sacred, not because it is exciting, but because it is yours. Do not stop when it works. That is when you must continue. Because the man you are becoming does not drift. He decides, daily, without permission, without delay, without excuse. Repeat, return, rebuild, until it is reflex, until it is reality, until you are no longer a man who hopes, but a man who commands. There comes a moment in every man's life where he must write his own creed, or be ruled by another's. The world is loud with voices, teachers, critics, strangers, media, family. Each has its idea of who you are and what you should become. But until you declare it for yourself, you will drift among borrowed beliefs, pulled by invisible strings, never walking with the certainty that belongs to a man of definite purpose. This exercise is not decorative. It is foundational. You are about to create the framework for your identity and your purpose, two things no man can afford to leave to chance. This is the mortar of the inner mansion you are building. You must shape the bricks with precision, and you must lay them daily. Begin by writing 5 identity statements using the phrase, I am the type of man who. Do not write what you wish were true. Write what must become true. Speak not from where you stand, but from where you aim. Each statement should declare a trait of the man you are becoming. That man is already within you, but he must be summoned daily. For example, I am the type of man who speaks with clarity and acts with finality. I am the type of man who honors his word, especially when no one is watching. I am the type of man who builds discipline into every hour of his day. I am the type of man who finishes what he starts, no matter how long it takes. I am the type of man who forges himself in silence and leads without apology. Next, write 5 declarations of purpose using the phrase, my purpose is to. Let these statements be sharp. Do not be vague. A foggy purpose creates a foggy path. Be specific. Be bold, and remember, purpose is not a wish, it is a vow. For example, my purpose is to build a legacy that outlives me. My purpose is to master myself so that I may guide others. My purpose is to eliminate drift from my life and live with sacred intention. My purpose is to pursue wealth, not to flaunt, but to fund freedom. My purpose is to become the man my future family will thank me for becoming. Once written, read all 10 statements aloud, every single morning, for the next 30 days. You must speak them as if declaring law to the courtroom of your subconscious mind. Say them with emotion. Say them with presence. Say them as if your very future depends on it, because it does. Place them where you will see them daily. Your desk, your wallet, your mirror, your car. Let no day begin without reminding your mind who you are and what you are building. This is not positive thinking. It is precise programming. Repetition, spoken aloud and infused with emotion, is the oldest and most effective method of installing a new identity into your subconscious. Do not underestimate this habit because it takes 5 minutes. Most men waste 50 years drifting through life without ever once clearly stating who they are and why they rise each day. You will not be that man. Write your creed. Speak it daily. Carve it into your mornings. Let it burn into your identity until it is no longer what you say. It is simply who you are. There comes a time in the journey of every serious man when he must lift his eyes from the treasure he seeks and look squarely into the mirror, not to see what he owns, but to confront what he has become. It is at this hour that the illusion of results as the goal begins to crumble. What remains is the truth that riches, recognition, and rewards are all byproducts of transformation. They are the external proof that an internal change has occurred, but they are not, and never were, the ultimate objective. The true prize is the man himself. The 5-minute habit I have placed into your hands is not a ritual to accumulate trinkets. It is the method by which you rebuild the man. Speak long enough, with clarity and repetition, and the echo in your mind becomes your identity. Practice consistently, and the subconscious, like a servant awakened from slumber, will begin obeying your direction with silent devotion. But let no man be confused. The habit is not meant to impress others. It is not decoration. It is not posturing for the world's applause. It is the forge. It is the grindstone where self-mastery is sharpened and the undisciplined man is made deliberate. Wealth may follow you. Power may seek your signature. But if you do not become the man worthy of those things, they will destroy you. Men who pursue gold without grounding often find themselves ruled by the very thing they chased. Their empires collapse, not from market forces, but from inner frailty. That is why this habit, this seemingly simple act of speaking one's identity aloud, must never be underestimated. For in that daily declaration, you are not merely programming the mind. You are teaching yourself that you are worthy of command, that your words matter, that your purpose has authority, and that your destiny will not come by accident, but by authorship. Andrew Carnegie once said, "My fortune is not in steel. It is in my ability to command myself." That statement should be etched in the soul of every man who aspires to greatness. He was not speaking of iron, railroads, or industrial growth. He was speaking of the man who wakes before others rise, speaks with conviction while others mumble in confusion, and lives with purpose while the masses wait for direction. The man who commands himself commands his world. This is why you must return to the ritual each day, not for the world's eyes, not even for immediate results, but for the quiet, unseen construction of character, for the slow elevation of identity, for the inner recalibration that transforms the timid into the resolute, the doubter into the doer, and the drifter into the deliberate. Let this truth ring in your mind. Results are fleeting, but becoming is forever. What you earn can be lost. What you build may one day be replaced. But what you become, through repetition, through discipline, through daily command, that cannot be taken from you. No man, no economy, no event can steal the internal power that is forged by deliberate, consistent thought. So rise each morning, speak as one who is becoming. Do not look to the skies for signs, do not chase applause. Instead, declare your identity. Repeat your purpose. Shape the man who cannot be shaken. Let your voice become law to your subconscious, and let your actions align with that decree. Do this not once, not for a week, but until it becomes reflex, until your life no longer requires motivation, only memory. Until the man you aim to be is the man who wakes up every morning and needs no reminder. He simply is. And so I leave you with the final affirmations of this journey, not as encouragement, but as commission. I live on purpose. I command my subconscious. I am becoming the man I was born to be. Speak them, become them, live them. For when a man can command himself, the world must follow.